In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a score variable and keep adding to that every time a card is drawn by one of the players. So currently, we're up to the point where we've made a list, called P1 hand. It starts off as empty when the game runs. We have a list called deck template. P1 hand then is updated by itself being added to a randomly popped item from deck template, which is between 0 and the length of deck template minus 1. Ugh, that's crazy, horrible looking stuff. Well, I've got another really ugly looking mixed statement for you to use. But hopefully, if you keep picking this apart, you'll get used to the idea of how this all works. Alright. Remember, deck template is 52 items, but the last item is actually called 51 because the first item is 0, because that's the way computers work. And so what we want is its length minus 1 for the name of the last item. So between 0 and the last item. That's what that means there. It's a random integer, random number between those two. That's what's being popped to take out from it to add to player one hand. And that's the way the whole thing works. Now, I'm going to make a score, which is going to use a very similar sort of system using len in order to work out the score. So to begin with, P1 score is going to be 0 because no cards have been drawn, because that's the first instance of a card being drawn. Right, so when we've chose a card, we want to add the score of the card to P1 score. Each time we draw a card, P1 hand is getting bigger and bigger. So originally we'll have one card added to it. Say for example if these 4 will get added to it by the player. So one card's added to it. So this is the last item of P1 hand at the moment. So if we just pull one card, that'll be the first and the last item. Alright? So it'll be the length of that list minus 1, because obviously this is item 0 of the list. If we add 2 in, we've got item 0 and we've got item 1. Now that is the last item. The length is 2, but obviously we've got 0 and 1, so it's the length of the list minus 1 will give us the last item. And if we now pull another card, we've got 3 items. The length of it is 3, obviously, so we say the player 1 hand len is 3, but obviously these are 0, 1 and 2. So we need to put a minus 1 on the end of that to get item 2. Okay. What we want is the number within item 2. So we just say value 1, so 0 and 1 within item 2. Nice and confusing, eh? But actually it's quite straightforward when you start playing around with it. And I'm going to keep saying that. Once you start playing around with lists a lot more, it does get straightforward. So we're going to add to the score now after this card has been pulled. Remember, the first time we pull a card, this is the first and last item. The length of the list is 1. And its len minus 1 will give us 0, which is the index of this item, if it's the only item in the list. Yeah, confusing, but you'll see it sort of in practice. So P1 underscore score is equal to itself, so P1 underscore score plus another thing, which is P1 underscore hand. We want the last item of it, and we want item 1 within that last item. So that's that we know so far. We want the last item, so if that was the last item there, we want item 1 within it, because remember, this is item 0 and this is item 1. How we get the last item, we've got to use a bit of jiggery pokery, a built-in function called len, which I've already used here, and a minus 1. So it's pretty straightforward. Len P1 underscore hand, right? So the actual list they've got with all their cards in it, minus 1. So that will always give you the last item. That will always give you the last item, last full item of P1 hand. No matter how big the list gets, it always gives you the last item. It's len minus 1. And then we want item 1 within that, which is the number, because that's item 1 of this particular one. If you were looking at that list, this will always be item 1 of that list. This is item 0, and that's the way lists work. So if I use that code now, I can always keep updating P1 score, so I can get current score based on whatever card has been pulled out, because it's just adding to it. I'll do that again there. So, player 1, your hand is that. If I print player 1, your current score is, I'll put P1 underscore score. It should show me now what the score is. So 7 plus 8 is 15, I get 15, yeah? Because we added 7 to the number 0, because remember it started off as 0 before we pull a card. So this is declaring the variable P1 score is 0. This line 22, is pulling the card and adding it to P1 hand. This line is taking the score of the last item in the value of the last item in P1 hand and adding it to P1 score. And then we're doing the whole thing again. So each time it's working. And nothing can ever be a 21 or above. Nothing can ever be 21 or above. I've rigged it like that because ace is worth 1. Right, so that's how we work out the score. Pretty complex, but it's quite straightforward. Again, so P1 score variable was 0 before this line. So if we go to line 20, it is declared as being 0. So we're going to take it, that's 0. We're going to say it's now equal to itself plus. Imagine this is our list currently, these items here, plus the length of that list. So 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1. So we're looking at item 3 because this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Alright. And then we're looking for item 1 within that. That's pretty straightforward when you look at it. But obviously when you look at the code first and you think, oh, what the heck does that mean? And that's often a little bit of an issue with programming. It's kind of done from the inside out. Slowly you start to understand what things mean. I think after 6 minutes 53 seconds I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to do another video tutorial now on a loop which will allow us to do some gameplay.